Hi there everyone, it's Laurel here with a different kind of video for you today. I'm sharing some organizational tips for your craft room. This video is not like my other video tutorials because part of it I'm actually filming with my camera mounted, but the other part, bits and pieces of the craft room that I'm showing you, I'm actually having to hold my phone. So because of that, it might be a little bit shaky at times. So I just wanted to kind of give you a full, disclosure before we dive right in. But in the video, I'm going to show you little tips that I found along the way on how to keep things organized. Sometimes, your drawers can just get piled and piled and piled. I have a junk drawer in my kitchen that's like that. So I'm just going to share with you some things that I found along the way to help me out, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. So let's just get right to it. The first thing I want to show you is my Alex drawer units. These are from IKEA. These are the wider drawers, and I store a lot of stuff in these guys, and I'm going to show you inside each of my drawers. You're going to get a little peek of my fuzzy socks as well. But anyway, I have set them side by side, as you can see, and I use it as a work surface. This is kind of like my die cutting trimming station. So I have my Gemini Junior there on the left, my scoring board in the middle there, and then my guillotine trimmer on the right. So I do all of my die cutting. I cut my cardstock. I can score it right there. So it makes for a great work surface. So now I'm going to get into my drawers. Let's get to it. My first drawer holds all of my mini ink pads. I'm using some organizing units from OrganizeMore, and it holds all of my mini ink pads and those little foam daubers that I grabbed off of Amazon. These are great units specifically made to fit the Alex drawers and mini ink pads. You can also stack them on top of each other. You got to move that thing out of the way, but you can stack 2 on top of each other, so you can fit 4 in one drawer if you wanted to, or you can leave that other side available for other things. So I love these little guys, and it just looks so pretty when I open the drawer. So pretty, rainbow order, nice and organized. All right, so let's move on to the second drawer. This is my foiling drawer. Anything that pertains to foiling is in this drawer. To the left, I have my Gemini foil press and all the foils and dies and things that go with that. And to the right, I have all of my ThermoWeb foils and all the other things. Now, I store my foils in these zipper pouches, which is another tip I want to let you, kind of tell you guys about. Get some zipper pouches, if you will, to organize your drawers. You can just put things in them on the bottom. I have all my foils in these, and below that I have all of my toner sheets and anything pertaining to foil in these mesh zipper folders. I'm able to see what's inside, and it has a zipper. I am known for pulling things out of the drawer, and if it didn't have a zipper top, they would have fallen all over the floor. So I'm just saying, zipper pouches. Moving on to the third drawer. Oh, this is actually my Lily drawer, my daughter's drawer. I gave her a drawer. So this just has some of her stuff in it. So we'll just skip that. We're going on into the next drawer. This is kind of like my Nouveau drawer, so kind of thing, like paints and stuff. I have all my Nouveau embellishment mousses, my glitter glazes. I have all of my color bursts, and these are also, again, units from OrganizeMore. They are specifically made to fit these units, but they have different compartments, so customizable compartments. And I'll be sure to link to all the ones that I have below. This drawer here to the left, or the organizer to the left rather, is another compartment. It holds all of my pens. So I have my Altenew alcohol markers and my Nouveau alcohol markers on the little organizer to the left, and to the right are some other pens I have in my stash, and that is actually an ANTONIUS unit from IKEA that fits the Raskog perfectly. And I'll link to that below too. Very inexpensive. Most things from IKEA, if you have access to one, are very inexpensive. This takes us to the last drawer in my first Alex unit, and this holds all of my refills. This is a little box that I got from IKEA. It came with a lid, but when I put the lid on, it actually doesn't fit in the drawer. So without the lid, it fits perfectly, and that holds all of my Catherine Pooler ink refills. This little box came from Target, and it holds all of my Distress Oxides, and then that little black organizer came from IKEA, and it holds like gesso, embossing paste, mixed medium type stuff. And that completes the first drawer unit. Let's take a look at the second one now. This is my first drawer, and it is my embossing drawer. These, again, are the 2 mini ink pad organizers from OrganizeMore that are perfect for your embossing powders as well. The larger embossing powders I keep in one organizer, and the smaller ones, which are to the right, are all from Wow. And a tip is to store your embossing powders upside down. That way you don't have to label anything and make swatches. I'm really too lazy for that. But when you open the drawer, you see all the pretty colors and it's really just like, wow. And I love all the wow embossing powders. As you can see, I have so many. So let's take a look into my next drawer, and this is my watercolor drawer. And this just has all of my watercolor palettes that I have, whether they're markers or palettes or whatever. And then to the right, I keep one pad of each of my watercolor papers. I have a surplus of watercolor cardstock that I keep in the closet, but I usually just keep one pad in the drawer unit there as to not get a little out of control. My third drawer is specialty paper. Again, I'm using these mesh zipper pouches. I can't recommend them enough. It holds all of my specialty paper like glitter cardstock, mirror cardstock, and so forth. And then the pouches below that hold papers such as sticky back tape from Ken Oliver and Elizabeth Craft Designs and that kind of thing. And again, I can't recommend zipper pouches enough. Have I said that? Have I annoyed you to no end? And then I just have some other random things here. I had some room, so that's what I did with that. The next drawer, oh, those are some pouches from Freckled Fawn. I don't know if that's still around, but little pouches like this are just fantastic to hold on to, just to store little bits here and there and keep everything nice and contained. This is my Distress ink drawer. Those are 2 ANTONIUS units that fit the Razcock. We'll get into that in a minute. But I keep all of my Distress ink pads in this, in one of the units, and then the other ANTONIUS has all of my Distress ink refills. I used to have both the full pads and the mini pads of the Distress inks, but I ended up getting rid of my minis because I used Distress inks for techniques, and I found that having a big pad worked for me. So I have big pads for the ink pads that I use on a regular basis, like my Catherine Pooler inks and my technique pads like Distress and the inks and the oxides. But from a organizational and price standpoint, mini is obviously good, but for me, I had to go all the way with the bigs. Okay, so this drawer right here has just some random things in it. It has some empty embossing jars and my ink label refills. And then my bottom drawer, again, that's another ANTONIUS unit. They're like $2, so I stacked up on those. And that holds all my glue. Like I have my glue runners, my glossy accents, my liquid glue, and then towards the back I have my refills for my watercolors. And that is a look at all of the drawers inside my Alex units. Let's move on to my desk here. Here's kind of an overview of my desk. Towards the back, I have stuck on my window 2 pegboards from IKEA. Yes, they're blocking my view. That may freak some of y'all out, but I have 2 windows on either side. I just needed to be able to easily reach for things without having to get up and walk across my room, so it works for me. And I have some things, that I keep on there, and very inexpensive. What I also have an Archon wall mount here, as you can see. That's how I do my, it's not a wall mount, it's a desk mount, and that's how I do my filming. I've got my iPad there where I watch Netflix or listen to some tunes. And I'm a huge fan of a glass surface. I'm using the Cutterpillar tempered glass, which I'll show you in a minute. And I also had cut down a piece of glass, tempered glass, to protect my work surface. I also added a strip of decorative tape for just a little pop of design on my desk, and then I put the glass I had cut directly over the top. Now, I do push this out of the way when I'm not filming so I don't whack myself in the head and give myself a concussion. So this is the Cutterpillar tempered glass. I absolutely love this. It's very inexpensive. It's $24.99. It's a great size, 12 by 16. It's got all the grid lines on it for you. Easy to clean up. Great for ink blending, mixed media, paints, etc. I just adore it. It also, and this is kind of an add-on to the Cutterpillar Glow, which is basically something that lights up underneath, which I do have. You don't necessarily need that. You could just get this tempered glass piece, set it on your desk, and you're good to go. I will link to the 2 sources I have found for this. Again, it's only $24.99, and I highly recommend a glass surface to work off of. This is my little die cutting section, as you can see here. Now I have it, these are 2 magnetic boards that I bought from IKEA, and those are magnetic backing sheets I have from Hutson, and then I just put all of my word dies and such there. I was originally storing them in kind of a file unit, if you will, and it just wasn't working out for me. It would keep them in envelopes and I would flip through it, and then all the words would just get jumbled together, and it was just a hot mess. So this is what I use. Now the downside of this is I'm not able to label where the stamps are from. It just got a little bit too messy when I was trying to work with it. I'm sure there's a way and I can think on that, but I know that I've got the ton dies here, Catherine Puller here, Heffy Doodle here, Tonic here. I know off of the top of my head where I have things, so it works for me as long as I remember. But this is by far a better setup for me than what I was doing before in the storage pockets. This is the ink pad organizer that I use from OrganizeMore. It holds 60 ink pads. I have 2 of them. They are wall mounted or they have little feet so you can put them on your desktop. This is what it looks like when I have actually all my inks inside. For now, I have pulled out all my Catherine Puller inks and I'll show you where they are in a minute just for ease because I was working on a project and I needed lots of colors, but I adore this wall unit and I know a lot of crafters use it. Here is another tip. I have pre-cut card bases and I store them here on the top of one of my Rascog units. Colored cardstock, black cardstock, 90, 80 pound, 110 pound vellum, specialty, watercolor. I have all these different categories. Obviously, you can categorize them however they suit your needs, but I have found this incredibly helpful because it saves time from having to cut panels all the time. That's a dirty cup of water. Normally it's clean water, but I did some watercoloring this morning, but this is where I keep my fresh jar of water. Down here, I store my Altenew die cutting machine and these little bins here. And this is how I store my heat tool. Now, this is a heat tool from Wow. It's new for me. And it's a dual speed heat tool, and I love it. It has 2 speeds, or heat settings. One is for drying watercolor, and the second is for heat embossing. And it warms up super fast. No more having to kind of warm something up for 30 seconds. And I love that it has a protection around the tip. I was kind of burning myself a lot with some other heat tools that I was using. And then I just kind of clamp it on here as so. I have little bins here also from IKEA where I store things that I reach for often, like blending brushes. These are my Aquaflow markers that are originally stored in my Alex Store unit, but I found I was reaching for them so much I just put them in their own little bin here and clip it right to my Rascog. So I don't have to move far. Now this is my other Rascog unit to the left of my desk. And here's another tip. I needed an actual work surface, so I just flipped my drawer upside down when I was assembling it, and now I have a flat surface for putting my computer, putting my journal, my planner, whatever, cards I'm working on, things that need to dry. Now I have this surface here that is extremely helpful. So just flip that upside down and bada bang, you got yourself a little work surface for you. Now here's where I'm storing my Catherine Puller inks right now just because I'm working on a project and I am too lazy to walk the 3 feet over to the wall. And those again are in some of those IKEA bins I've linked below for you. This is how I store my colored cardstock. It is very simple. I don't put things in envelopes and whatever. I just store them in a letter tray that also came from IKEA in rainbow order. Simple, simple, simple. Fits in one of those cubbies just perfectly. This is how I store my pre-cut cardstock. Those are pre-cut panels I've already cut and scored. To the left and to the right are envelopes, and those are one of those fridge bins units there. Easy peasy, and it's pretty. It's a nice pop of color. These are 2 new boxes I just picked up from IKEA. I was using some other ones from years ago, and they've kind of stepped up their game. These are a lot more sturdier and prettier, so I went ahead and grabbed 2 of those, and I store things that aren't necessarily pretty to look at in those 2 boxes there. You can also customize your IKEA unit. It's called the Kallax now, but I added drawers to mine and cabinets to mine below. But you can customize these however you want. You can have a whole unit full of cubbies if you want to. And then at the top, I put my Cricut Air because it's a mint color and I love it. This is another unit from OrganizeMore that's customizable. It's got little shelves on it. And you can kind of build it up and add some height or add some width or do whatever you want to do to it. I love this. This is one of their newer items and it's built specifically to fit inside the cubby of the Kallax or the Expedite unit from IKEA. It's fantastic. And last but certainly not least, let's take a look at my pegboard here. This is a pegboard from Home Depot. My husband got it for me. It's all one piece. And my husband is the king of Home Depot. I cannot go in there. I get lost and it's just not a place for me. So I'm glad he found this for me. This is a nail polish holder. A lot of crafters use it to store their different things. I saw it. I asked him like, "Hey, what is that?" It's a nail polish holder. It stores all of my stuff. I've got my Nuvo sprays at the top. I've got all of my Nuvo drops from glitter to dream drops to whatever other kind of glitter drops. They've got so many different kinds. I love them. And at the bottom, I have my various alcohol inks from the different companies I use. And I just love this, and it's pretty to look at. So I try to put everything in rainbow order. I have little hooks here that you can get from anywhere under the sun. And the little bins that I use are from the dollar section at Target. So this is a great, wonderful little pop of color here that I've added to the craft room, and your bins can store anything that you want. So I love this. You can get hooks and shove stuff anywhere. And here's a look at that. It's just really pretty to look at, I think. So here's my craft room in a nutshell with hopefully some tips on organization that you will find helpful. I have listed everything I mentioned, I think, below in the description in the order as they appeared in the video. So I hope that this is helpful for you. This is very different than my usual style of videos. Usually I do tutorials and my camera's mounted, and in this instance I had to kind of insert some still photos and hold my phone in other instances. So it's a little bit of this and that, but hopefully you didn't get sick. Hopefully you found it helpful. And do let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.